Welcome to HFY Codex. If you love epic sci-fi stories where humanity shines, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for thrilling HFY adventures. Join us and be part of the journey. The cave collapsed the ground. Shook like thunder, crashing through the tunnels of the Grath 4 mining colony. Lights flickered, alarms screamed, and steel supports groaned under pressure. Then silence, followed by the deep sound of crumbling rock. Mark gasped, dust filling his lungs. He tried to stand, but his head spun. Something warm trickled down his temple. He wiped it, red smeared his hand, blood. He reached for his helmet light and clicked it on. The beam cut through the dust, showing walls that had caved in. A tunnel was sealed behind jagged slabs of stone. He called out, voice hoarse, "Hello? Is anyone there?" A soft sound answered, a whimper, almost too quiet. He crawled toward it. His heart raced. Vera. He called. The alien girl lay half buried beneath the rubble. Her soft green skin was scratched, her eyes glowing faintly. Her leg was pinned beneath a steel beam. Her breathing was shallow. "I'm here," she whispered. "I can't move, Mark." Knelt beside her and grabbed the beam. He pulled with all his strength. His muscles screamed. But it didn't budge. The thing must have weighed a ton. "Don't," Vera said gently. "You'll hurt yourself." "I'm not leaving you," Mark said. He looked around. The radio was broken. The path back was gone. The emergency tunnel was blocked. There was no signal, no sound from the surface. Only dust and the distant sound of falling stone. They were trapped. Mark sat beside her. Catching his breath, "Rescue teams should come," he said. Though even he didn't believe it. "They'll scan the tunnels." Vera shook her head. "This area was marked unsafe last week. They won't check here." Mark's chest tightened. He checked his oxygen meter. Only 6 hours left. Maybe less if they panicked. Their food packs were buried, their water unit crushed. "What about your leg?" he asked, trying to sound calm. "I can't feel it anymore," she said. Her voice was soft but steady. The beam crushed it. He shined the light down. Her leg looked twisted under the metal, too damaged to save. Mark bit his lip, thinking. He had no tools to lift the beam, no way to call for help. "We need to get out," he whispered. "Somehow there's a narrow vent," Vera said. "Behind that broken wall. I saw it before the quake. It leads up to a service shaft." Mark turned his light. There was a crack in the far side of the cave, maybe just wide enough for someone small to crawl through, but not with a crushed leg. "I can't fit," Vera said. "Not like this." "We'll wait," he said. "Your people will come." Vera looked at him. Her glowing eyes were calm. "They won't come," she said. "Not in time." He didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to say what he was now thinking, but she did it. For him, "You have to cut my leg," she said. Mark stared at her. "What?" "You have to cut it off," she repeated. "It's the only way I can crawl. The leg will grow back." He blinked. "You're serious?" "Yes," she said. "My species, we can regrow limbs. It's painful, but it works. If we use the serum in my belt pouch, the tissue will start healing in minutes." Mark looked down at her pouch, then back at her leg. He felt sick. He had never even hunted animals, and now he had to cut someone's leg off. "Vera," he whispered, "I could kill you." "No," she said. "If you cut clean and quick, I will survive. If you don't, we both die here." Mark looked away. He ran a hand through his dirty hair. Breathing became harder. Not just from the dust, but from fear. "I don't want to hurt you," he said. "You're saving me." She replied. He opened her pouch. Inside was a silver injector filled with a glowing blue liquid, the regrowth serum. He stared at it, as if hoping it would offer him courage. Then he looked around for something sharp, something he could use. He found a mining blade, short but heavy. He held it in shaking hands. Vera smiled faintly. Don't hesitate. He nodded. I'll be fast. He placed a cloth in her mouth so she wouldn't bite her tongue. He cleaned the blade with a flame from his torch. Then he kneeled beside her injured leg, holding it gently, positioning the blade. His heart thudded like a hammer, sweat dripping from his chin. On 3, he whispered. 1, 2. Before he could say 3, he brought the blade down. Asterisk the unthinkable request, the blade made a dull thud as it hit the rock floor. Mark's hands were shaking, blood on his gloves. Vera didn't scream. Her body trembled, eyes wide, teeth clenched. On the cloth he had placed in her mouth, Mark quickly dropped the blade and grabbed the regrowth serum. He pressed it against her thigh, where the cut had ended, and pushed the injector. The blue fluid hissed into her bloodstream. Her skin shimmered. For a second, then her breathing grew faster. "You're okay," Mark whispered, even though he wasn't sure if she was. "You're okay." Vera's lips moved, trying to speak. Mark removed the cloth from her mouth. Her voice was weak but clear. "The pain. It's starting." Mark wrapped the stump with clean fabric torn from his undershirt. Blood still oozed out, but slower now. The serum was working. Her leg would begin regrowing. But the process would not be gentle. "We need to go now," Vera said through clenched teeth. "The window is small. If the oxygen drops more, we won't make it." Mark nodded and turned his light toward the crack in the cave wall. It looked like a tight vertical shaft, narrow and jagged, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. He crawled over, tested the edge with his hand, and looked back. "You think you can move?" he asked. Vera nodded, her face pale, sweat dripping from her temples. She dragged herself with her arms, her lower body limp. Mark helped lift her, careful not to touch the injured side. Every motion made her gasp. It was slow, painful, desperate. The shaft was dark, with no end in sight. Mark went first, clearing debris. Guiding her hand by hand, he cut through old wires, brushed away cobwebs. He kept talking to her, telling her to breathe, to stay awake. "Tell me about your home," he said. Vera groaned. "My home is not under rocks." Mark chuckled softly. "Good start, my people." "We come from forests with floating leaves," she murmured. "Trees taller than towers, water that glows at night. Our skin turns silver under twin moons." Mark imagined trying to hold the picture in his head. Anything was better than the suffocating blackness around them. He looked back. Vera was falling behind. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, barely. Her voice was quieter. "My leg. It burns. It's growing fast." Mark crawled back to her, reached under her arms, began pulling her forward. Inch by inch, her breathing became erratic, the pain rising as nerves and tissue rebuilt themselves. He felt her trembling, but she didn't scream, not once. They reached a narrow ledge where they could rest. The air felt cooler there, faint airflow brushing against their faces. "That's good," Mark said. "We're close to the vent, Vera." Lay back, her chest rising fast. Her eyes were glowing stronger now, even brighter than before. "The serum is strong," she whispered. "Maybe too strong." "What do you mean?" Mark asked. "My kind?" "We don't use this version anymore. It was banned. Only soldiers used it." Mark's heart pounded. "Will it hurt you?" "I don't know," she said. "It could grow more than just a leg." Mark stared at her, confused. "Like what?" "My ancestors," she said. "They were warriors, stronger, faster. They had traits forgotten. This serum wakes that up." Mark looked down at her leg, already forming a faint silvery structure at the base, skin cells glowing under the light. The regrowth was faster than he expected, and more. "Alien, is it dangerous?" he asked. "For enemies," she replied, trying to smile. Mark helped her sit up. She checked the path ahead, then pointed. "That tunnel," she said. "It leads to a service duct." If we reach it, we can send a signal." They continued crawling. Mark pushing debris, Vera pulling herself forward, her strength returning slowly. She was regaining color. Her arms moved faster now, her eyes sharper. The walls around them groaned again. A low rumble echoed from the tunnels behind them. Mark froze. "That's another shift," he said. "We have to move. Now." Vera nodded. "Help me stand." Mark hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I have to try," she said. He held her carefully, letting her lean on him. She stood slowly, weight on one leg, the other still forming. Her balance wobbled. But she didn't fall. "I can feel it," she whispered. "Growing like fire." They limped forward together. One human, one alien, bonded now by survival and blood. The shaft narrowed, then curved sharply. A faint red light glowed ahead, emergency lighting from the service duct. "We're almost there," Mark said, gripping her tighter. Then they heard it. Voices, mechanical footsteps, and metal clanging in the tunnel beyond the vent. Mark stopped, breath caught in his throat. "Do you hear that?" Vera's eyes narrowed. "That's not rescue." Mark clenched his fists. "Then who is it?" She reached for his arm, her voice low and calm. "Whoever it is, we survive together." Blood and steel. The tunnel was shaking again, but this time it wasn't just from falling rocks. The sound of heavy metal boots echoed through the duct, too precise for rescue workers, too fast for machines. Mark pulled Vera down beside a broken crate. He turned off his light, held his breath, and listened. The steps were getting closer, steady, marching. Someone was looking for something, or someone. Vera's glowing eyes dimmed as she slowed her breathing. She leaned against the wall, her body still weak, but her senses alert. Her leg had grown longer now, the bone covered in a silver membrane, like armor forming from within her own body. "What's happening to you?" Mark whispered. Vera looked down, then back at him. "The serum is changing me faster than expected. It's not just healing me, it's awakening my old blood." Mark watched in silence as small tendrils of skin stretched over the bone, shaping what looked like muscle. Her body was evolving right before his eyes, and there was nothing natural about it. Suddenly, a red beam of light swept past the crack in the tunnel. A mechanical voice followed. "Heat signature detected. 2 life forms confirmed. Proceed to extraction." Mark's heart skipped. "They found us," he whispered. Vera gritted her teeth. "We're not ready for a fight." Mark looked around and spotted a maintenance hatch above them, barely large enough to climb into. He helped Vera up, boosting her with all his strength. She groaned but didn't scream. Her new leg scraped against the metal as it tried to hold her weight. He followed right after, closing the hatch silently behind them. The crawl space above was tighter, darker, and filled with sharp metal rods. It felt like crawling through knives. The sound of boots passed below them, fading into the deeper tunnel. Mark waited, listening, making sure they were gone. Then he turned his head. "Why are they chasing us?" Vera didn't answer right away. Her voice was tired, but steady. "I wasn't supposed to be in that mine. I was looking for something hidden. Ancient tech. My people didn't want anyone to find it." Mark frowned. "And now they're sending people to erase the evidence." "Yes," she said, "and I became that evidence." Mark thought about her leg, about the speed of its healing, the strange shine in her skin. He remembered what she said about old warriors. And now he saw the truth. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was something far greater and far more dangerous. They kept crawling until they reached a rusted hatch that led to a side chamber. Mark forced it open and helped Vera slide. Through. The room was filled with broken machines and half-dead lights. But there, near the wall, stood an old control panel still blinking faintly. "If this works," Mark said, "I can send an emergency ping to Surface Command." Vera nodded. "Do it quickly. They'll be back soon. Mark tapped into the panel. Sparks flew. He reconnected loose wires, bypassed burned circuits. His fingers moved fast. Heart pounding. Finally, a loud ping echoed through the chamber. The signal was out. "They'll know we're alive," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But it might take hours." Vera leaned back against the wall, her leg nearly complete now. The skin shimmered like living steel. Her toes flexed for the first time. Mark looked at her. "That's not a normal leg anymore." "No," she said. "It's a war-born leg." He raised an eyebrow. "You mean like weapons grade?" "Yes," she said. "My ancestors were bioengineered for battle. We left that behind long ago, but the serum unlocked it." Mark stepped closer. "Does it change your mind too?" She met his eyes, glowing brighter than before. "I still know who I am," she whispered, "but I can feel something else waking inside me. Something old, something angry." Before he could answer, the hatch behind them slammed open. Light poured in, and the silhouette of a soldier appeared in the frame, masked, armored, rifle aimed directly at Mark. "Don't move," the soldier barked. "By order of the Unified Command. Both of you are under arrest." Vera stood slowly, putting full weight on her new leg. Her posture shifted, more balanced, more powerful. The air around her seemed to crackle. "I'm not going with them," she said. Mark reached for a tool on the floor, a heavy wrench, not a weapon, but better than nothing. The soldier stepped inside. "Render, or we will use force." Vera didn't wait. She moved like lightning. Her new leg launching her forward, she kicked the rifle from the soldier's hand. The weapon spinning across the room, Mark jumped in, swinging the wrench at the second soldier who appeared. Behind, it cracked against the man's arm, forcing him to stumble back. Within seconds, the chamber turned into chaos. Vera dodged, twisted, and struck with deadly grace. Her leg moved faster than Mark could follow, and with every motion, the room filled with sound, steel against bone, boots scraping floor, groans of pain and fury. When it was over, the soldiers were unconscious, and the room was silent again. Vera turned to Mark, blood on her lip, eyes still glowing. "I'm done hiding," she said. "Now we fight back." Asterisk. The narrow escape. The air was thick with smoke and blood. 2 soldiers lay unconscious on the ground. Sparks flew from the broken console, and the old mining room smelled of rust and ozone. Mark leaned against the wall, catching his breath. His hands shook from the fight, and his side ached from a lucky hit he took earlier. Still, they were alive. Vera stood tall, her new leg fully formed now. It shimmered with metallic lines. Its shape, sleek, sharp, and far more than just flesh. She didn't wobble anymore. Her balance was perfect. "We can't stay," she said. Her voice calmer now, but focused. "That signal won't save us." It only gave them a reason to send more. Mark nodded. "Then we go up." He checked the ventilation map etched into the wall. Years old and half-worn, one path led to the surface airlock, but it passed through a vertical shaft called the lung, a narrow climb used for maintenance robots. "It's tight," he said, pointing, "but it'll take us up fast." Vera looked at it. "I'll fit, and so will you." Barely. Mark packed a few things they could carry. 1 med pack, the wrench, a flare, and what was left of the food. Vera took a sidearm from one of the soldiers and slid it into her belt. They entered the shaft. The climb began, inside the lung. The walls pulsed with faint heat from the still operating geothermal core below. Pipes hissed quietly, and the metal surface was damp. Their fingers slipped at times. But they kept moving. Mark led the way, pulling himself rung by rung. His arms were sore, every muscle burned. He looked down at Vera, who climbed silently behind him, her leg made small. Scraping sounds against the walls. It had claws now. "Are you sure that's still your leg?" he asked between breaths. Vera smiled faintly. It listens to me. That's enough. A sudden gust of heat rushed upward, nearly knocking them off balance. A safety valve had just opened somewhere below. Mark tightened his grip, his boots slipping. Vera reached up and steadied him with one hand. Her strength was unnatural now. "Thanks," he muttered, still catching his breath. "Don't fall," she said. "We're too close." They reached a circular hatch halfway up. Mark twisted the lock open. The room beyond was dark and wide, full of old machines and crates, a forgotten storage bay. It was silent. They stepped inside carefully. The room smelled of oil and old metal. Light flickered above them, casting long shadows. Vera moved to check the corners while Mark tried to reactivate the console. It blinked to life, barely readable. "This place hasn't been touched in years," he said. "But there's an access. Elevator on the far side. If it works, we're 5 minutes from the surface." Vera turned sharply. Wait from the shadows behind a tall stack of crates. Something moved. Mark froze. Another soldier. "No," Vera said. Stepping closer, something worse. A figure stepped out, tall and armored. But this one didn't move like the others. Its armor was black and ridged like an insect. Its face hidden behind a bone-white mask with no eyes. Just slits. Vera stepped in front of Mark. "That's not one of theirs. That's a shadow enforcer." Mark raised the wrench again, but his hand trembled. "What's that?" "An ancient killer," she whispered. "Built for one purpose, hunting down threats to trail secrets." The enforcer moved fast, faster than anything they'd seen. It leaped across the room and swung a blade toward Vera. She dodged, rolled under it, and came up kicking. Her new legs struck with power, sending the thing crashing into a wall. "Go to the elevator," she shouted. Mark ran, dodging crates, hearing metal slice the air behind him. The enforcer lunged again, this time toward him. Vera tackled it mid-air, both crashing to the floor. Mark reached the elevator panel and slammed his fist on the button. It buzzed, lights flickering. The door opened slowly, too slowly. Vera screamed. Not from pain, but rage. She slammed the enforcer into the ground again and again, her legs striking like a hammer, crushing metal, sparks flying from its armor. The machine reached up and stabbed her shoulder with a blade hidden in its wrist. Vera cried out, but didn't stop. Her fist smashed into its head, cracking the mask, revealing a pale, pulsing core underneath. Mark saw it too. The core hit the core. Vera grabbed a broken pipe and drove it straight into the core. The enforcer jerked once, then fell silent. Its limbs twitched and then went still. She stood up, bleeding, breathing hard, but alive. Mark rushed to her side, helping her into the elevator. "You good?" She nodded. "We need to burn that thing later." The elevator doors closed, and the lift began to rise. It groaned with age, shaking as it climbed toward the surface. Mark leaned against the wall, panting. How many more of those things are there? Vera looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "If the council thinks I'm still alive, more will come." They both stood in silence, the sound of the elevator humming beneath their feet. For now, they had survived. But the war had just begun. Asterisk. The enemy in the light. The elevator stopped with a loud clang. The doors opened slowly, revealing harsh sunlight and the broken remains of the surface station. Mark squinted against the brightness, shielding his eyes. Vera stood beside him, blood soaking her torn uniform, her strange new leg glinting under the light. The surface was nothing like Mark remembered. It had once been a busy mining hub with workers, vehicles, and supply drops. Now it was quiet, too quiet. The structures were damaged, half melted by heat, and black smoke rose from the far end of the station. Vera's eyes narrowed. This wasn't caused by the quake. Mark looked around carefully. Someone burned this place down. They moved together. Vera limping slightly but still strong. Mark kept the wrench in one hand. Vera held the sidearm. Their boots crunched over ash and debris. A warning sign blinked overhead, repeating the same message in red text: evacuation in progress. Zone compromised. Too late for evacuation, Mark muttered. Looks like whoever stayed behind didn't make it. They turned a corner and reached the main courtyard. There, in the center, stood a tall figure in white robes, unmoving. Surrounded by strange soldiers with curved rifles and glass masks, Vera pulled Mark back behind a broken wall. "I know who that is," she whispered. "That's Counselor Harneth, one of the top minds from the Trell Science cast. What's he doing here?" Mark asked, finishing what the enforcer couldn't. She said, "He came for me." Mark peeked over the wall. "They don't look like fighters." "They don't have to be," Vera replied. "They just need to get close enough to inject a neural toxin or trap me with sonic binders." Mark clenched his jaw. "So we either run, or we stand here and hope they don't see us." "No," Vera said, standing up slowly. "We walk out there." "What?" Mark grabbed her arm. "That's suicide." Vera looked at him, her glowing eyes steady. "They think I'm still like the others, still afraid, still weak. But I've changed, and I need them to see it." Before Mark could stop her, she stepped into the open. Every masked soldier turned instantly, weapons raised. The white-robed counselor raised a hand to stop them. "Vera of House Trelson," he said, his voice echoing with calm authority. "You've made a mistake." Vera walked slowly forward, her head held high. "No, you did. When you sent hunters after me instead of listening, you used forbidden serum," the counselor said. "You've awakened traits that could destabilize your people's evolution." "You buried the truth," she snapped. "You erased our strength, our history. You hid the warriors inside us because you were afraid." The soldiers began to close in, tightening their circle. Mark crept around the edge of the courtyard, looking for something, anything he could use. He saw a fuel tank half buried near the generator building, if he could ignite it at the right time. "You are unstable," Harneth continued, "and the human is infected by your rebellion. Step forward now, or we will end this conversation permanently." Vera clenched her fists, her leg twitching with tension. Mark could see it pulsing, the armor around her new limb shifting like it was alive. "You want a demonstration?" she asked. "Fine." She jumped high, spinning midair, and slammed her foot into the nearest soldier. The glass mask shattered, and the body flew back 10 meters. The other soldiers opened fire, but she moved like lightning. Mark ran to the fuel tank, pulled out the flare from his pack, and lit it. Flames sparked to life. He threw it under the tank and ducked. Boom! The explosion knocked soldiers to the ground. Metal and fire flew across the courtyard, confusion taking over their ranks. Vera moved through them like a storm, using her leg to strike, dodge, and leap. Her hand disarmed one. Her foot crushed another's weapon. She wasn't just surviving now, she was fighting like a warrior reborn. Mark charged toward her as more soldiers regrouped. One aimed a rifle at her back. Mark tackled him to the ground, wrench swinging hard. Bones cracked under the blow. The counselor backed away, raising a small device. "This is your last warning." "Child," he hissed. "You don't know what you've become." Vera pointed at him. "I know exactly what I am, and I'm not yours to control anymore." She sprinted forward, faster than before. Her foot landed against the ground with force, cracking the concrete as she launched into the air. Her leg struck the counselor's device, snapping it in two. Sparks flew as he stumbled backward. "You'll cause war," he said, coughing. "You'll bring ruin to your own people." "No," Vera said, standing over him. "I'll bring truth. And the humans will stand with me." Mark reached her side, panting, bruised but alive. Together, they turned away from the flames, leaving the counselor on the ground, Defeated, not dead, but changed. They'll keep coming, Mark said quietly. Let them, Vera replied. The next time, I won't run. Asterisk regrowth and revelation night fell quickly over the shattered surface of Grathfor. Stars blinked overhead, quiet and distant, as if unaware of the blood spilled below. The fires had died down, the soldiers were gone. And silence returned to the mining outpost, but nothing felt safe. Mark sat beside Vera, near the edge of the crater. His arms were scraped, his face bruised. Every breath reminded him of the fight they'd just survived. Vera sat still, staring at her leg. The regrown limb no longer looked like flesh. It was armor now, sleek, dark, silver. Pulsing faintly with energy, her toes moved with ease. But sparks crackled each time she curled them. Something inside the limb had changed completely. Mark broke the silence. Is it still you? Vera didn't answer right away. Her glowing eyes reflected the starlight. It's me. But more, she whispered, and less human than before. Mark leaned closer. You said the serum could unlock hidden traits. What else is coming? She looked down at her hands. Her skin was changing too. Slowly, fine lines of light traced. Across her arms, like veins of energy, her heartbeat sounded deeper, and her breath came out colder than before. My people used to be something else. She said, long ago, we weren't peaceful. We were born to fight, to lead the serum. Didn't just regrow a leg, it reawakened a bloodline. Mark tried to stay calm. And what does that make you now? Vera looked at him, a question the council fears. They both sat in silence, surrounded by broken walls and shattered machines. The stars above gave no answers, only time. Then Vera winced suddenly. Her hand gripped her side. She groaned and leaned forward. It's starting again, she whispered. Mark rushed to her side. What's wrong? My bones. Shifting, something else is forming. He helped her lie down gently. Her back arched as her body shook. Muscles along her arms tensed and moved beneath the skin like worms. Her breath turned cold as frost touched the ground beside her. Vera, stay with me, Mark said, trying not to panic. You're not alone. Her body pulsed once like a heartbeat made of energy. Her eyes flared bright, silver and white, then dimmed, and then it stopped. She gasped and opened her eyes again, her voice steadier now. It passed, she said. The next phase is done. Mark stared in disbelief. Her skin now shimmered slightly under the moonlight. Not wet, not metal, but something. In between, she looked stronger, sharper, yet still her. You still sound like you, he said, smiling slightly. That's good enough for me. Vera sat up slowly, stretching her arm. I don't just feel stronger, she said. I feel connected, like I'm remembering things I never lived. Memories. Mark asked. Visions, she replied, of battles, of ancient halls, of blades that sang and armor that breathed. Mark raised a brow. Okay, it's not normal. Vera nodded. It's ancestral memory, passed through blood, the serum. Unlocked it, I remember standing before the first Trell Queen. She wore armor like mine and led armies across stars. Mark stood and looked around the darkened outpost. And now you're her echo. I'm more than an echo, she said, standing tall. I'm her return. They walked together toward the cliff edge where the wind blew down into the valley. In the distance, they saw lights, not from the council, but from a nearby outpost where neutral traders often landed. If we make it there, Mark said, we can send a full message, not just a distress ping. We can tell the galaxy what happened here. They won't believe it. Vera said softly. Not until they see me. Mark looked at her again. Her presence felt different now. Not just alien, but royal. As if the ground itself should bend where she walked. You sure you're okay with that? He asked, being the symbol. Vera glanced at him. I didn't survive to stay hidden. If they want to bury the truth, then I will stand tall and tear open the sky. As they turned to leave, something beeped behind them. Mark spun around, weapon raised, but Vera stepped forward calmly. From the shadows, a small drone floated into the open, its lights flickering blue. Not a council signal, but an old Trell broadcast frequency. Vera reached out. The drone scanned her new leg, her eyes, her pulse. Then it spoke, confirmed. Trell Royal Line activated. Mark's mouth fell open. Your royalty? Vera's voice didn't shake. Not anymore, she said. I'm Revolution. The drone paused, then displayed a hologram, a list of ancient protocols, and a crest that hadn't been seen in centuries. It was shaped like her leg's armor. The mark of the first warrior queen. They'll come for you, Mark said. I'll be ready. She answered. Together, they started walking toward the lights in the valley. Not as fugitives, not as victims, but as the spark of something far greater than either of them expected. The return and the promise. The traitor outpost sat like a forgotten scar across the rocky valley. Half buried under red dust, it was old, patched together with scrap metal and buzzing with dim power. But tonight was the safest place left on. Grathfor. Mark and Vera approached slowly, their bodies aching, their hearts steady. The night wind howled across the barren plain. But they did not flinch. The gate recognized Vera's biosignal and hissed open without resistance. Inside, the outpost looked abandoned, flickering lights and broken monitors scattered across rusted desks. But one thing still worked, the long-range comms tower. Vera stepped toward the panel, placing her hand on the old glass interface. Her pulse synced with it instantly. The system came alive, blinking with blue fire, recognizing her bloodline. Mark stood beside her, still breathing heavy, still carrying the wrench he never let go of since the mines. This is it, he said. You sure you want to call them? I'm not calling the council, she replied. I'm calling everyone else. With one motion, she sent a transmission across the stars. Not coded, not secret, but loud, clear, and ancient. It was a signal meant only for one group. One name appeared on the screen in a forgotten Trell script, glowing like fire. Warborn kin awakened. Mark stepped back, confused. What did you just do? Vera turned, her glowing eyes focused. I told the others like me that it's time. Within seconds, the screen lit up with responses, ping after ping from deep space pockets. Rogue colonies and lost moons. The Warborn were not extinct. They had only been sleeping, waiting for someone to ignite the old call. One voice came through first, gruff, low, and female, who calls the bloodline back from silence. Vera stood tall. I am Vera of House Trelson. I lost my leg, but found my fire. I am the spark. If you remember the pain of chains and the thrill of freedom, come, another voice replied. Then we rise again. Mark turned toward the outpost window, seeing movement beyond the valley. Ships, small and silent, descending through the dark. Their shapes were not like council craft. They were sharp, older, and built for war. You summoned an army, he whispered. I summoned my family, Vera said. Suddenly, the comms panel sparked again. A priority override came through. Council code. It wasn't just a message. It was a live feed. The face of a woman appeared on screen. Her robes golden, her forehead marked with the High Council seal. Vera, she said calmly. You have caused enough damage. Stand down, and we will spare the human. Mark frowned. Oh great, I'm the bargaining chip now. Vera stepped between him and the screen. You hid our strength. You erased our queens. You hunted me like prey. I will not kneel to you. You are awakening chaos. The councilwoman replied coldly. You are not a leader. You are a broken experiment. Vera reached down and placed her foot against the metal floor. Her armored leg flared with power. A ripple spreading across the outpost. The light surged, the screens bent slightly from pressure. The Warborn were responding to her energy. "I was broken," she said, "but I rebuilt myself. Stronger. You don't get to decide what I am anymore." The feed cut off. Mark exhaled slowly. "So, what now?" Vera turned to him, her voice softening. "Now, I give them a choice. Follow the truth, or fall under it," as dawn began to rise. The Warborn ships landed in silent rows beyond the horizon. Their doors opened, and tall figures stepped out. Some armored, some scarred, all of them with the same glowing bloodline in their veins. Vera walked out to meet them, the dust rising at her feet. She did not wave. She did not shout. She only stood still, and they came to her. Mark followed, behind, quietly, unsure what his place was now. But when one of the Warborn generals looked at him and nodded in respect, he understood. "You gave your last meal to save me," Vera said, looking at him. "You carried me through fire. You cut my leg so I could live, and you stayed even when I changed." Mark smiled. "Yeah, well, I make bad decisions sometimes." She laughed, short and real, then reached into her pouch and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. It was a crest, the old seal of the Trell warrior line, untouched by time. She held it out. "This is yours too," she said. "Not because you were born of us, but because you chose to stand beside us." Mark took it slowly, eyes wide. "I don't even know how to lead." "Neither did I," she whispered, "until I had to." The Warborn raised their weapons, not in war, but in honor. A signal of unity, of return, of promise. And in that rising sun, among the broken stones of a dead colony, a new history began.